button, so it takes just a second to mobilize. Those of you who are just now signing in, let us know where you're signing in from, what city, what state, what country. We're so glad you're able to join us. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this, have been anticipating today's event, because we want to talk about the challenges, the successes in 2021, as well as what's the way forward. How do we go from here? So that's what we're going to be focusing on and talking about today. We look forward to your discussion points, your feedback, and I'm going to bring my guests, or at least introduce my guests here momentarily. Let me just pull up my chat to make sure that you guys are able to see me. And actually, let's see here. It looks like on LinkedIn we're not quite live yet. So hopefully that will work itself out here momentarily. But it looks like, let's see, are we live on Facebook? Joanne, can you take a look for that?
Yes, checking.
Okay. I see we're live on Vimeo already. A little bit of a delay on. Okay, let me try that. Can we hit a refresh button here?
Yes, Raleigh, you're live on Facebook.
Okay, good. So we're live on Facebook. Thank you for joining us, guys. We just want to make sure that we're up and going on LinkedIn. That's what we're researching at the moment, to make sure that we're also live there. Okay, those of you who are just coming in, if you want to talk about the challenges and successes for 2021 as it relates to healthcare or healthcare staffing or HR in general, you're in the right place. And I have two great panelists to talk about that. Let me just make one more double check on the LinkedIn platform to make sure we're live there. For some reason, okay, let me do this. Let me try this one other thing here. And just to make sure our coding is right, which I think it should be. So bear with us just 1 second, guys. It's the beauty of live. Okay. Hitting refresh. Well, I don't give up that easy. We got one other thing we're going to do here. And I got another thing up my sleeve here. So no worries on that.
Raleigh,
Mm-hmm.
we are live on HR Maximizer LinkedIn.
Oh, we are?
Yes, but not on your profile.
Okay. So we actually are live on LinkedIn, just not on my own profile. Got it. Okay, let's see if we can fix that all the way. Because a lot of the folks who signed up, they signed up to be on my profile. So I'm working through that right now. They're going to see a little bit different program, but that's okay. And we'll let them know. So those of you who are just now chiming in, let us know what city, what state, what country you're coming in from. And we are, so if you want your comments to be seen, we'll be monitoring the comments on LinkedIn the most. But certainly we will read all your comments on all the other platforms, which you are streaming actually on YouTube as well as Facebook. So we're just making sure that we're fully operational on the LinkedIn platform. That's what we're looking for right now. There's something up with that link I think they have. Let me just, it's really strange, guys. I've never seen this happen where it just flat doesn't want to accept it. Okay. See, it's just really being stubborn today, but that's okay. Okay, no problem. So what we're doing is refreshing the screen, and we should be back up. I have faith that this is going to work. Okay, let's go over here. This is the most issue I've had with it so far, but we are not. All right, let's see if that does it. Ah, look at that. Okay, we're getting there, guys. This is looking good. I got a good sign here. Ah, this is looking good. Ah, there we go. Very good, guys. All right, listen. So I'm very excited about today's show. Very excited about our guests today. Those of you who are just now joining us, let us know what city, what state you're coming in from. Also, let me know, please, if the audio is clear, if you're able to see us very clearly. That's also important. So let me just do that. Let me just make sure. Okay, so this is looking good, guys. I'm really very excited. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started now. So one of the things we've been talking about recently is, obviously 2021. We looked into 2021 and said, boy, we're so glad 2020 is over. And so now here's 2021, and we all look forward to a great 2021. So we want to review that, what happened, what challenges, what successes, as well as the way forward. So I want to just start to introduce my two guests for today. I have at the very top Mr. Vince Goodwin. He is from the Legacy Community Health. He's actually the Chief Human Resource Officer at Legacy Community Health, and they're a federally qualified organization that helps really the whole community within the area that they serve, which is in the Houston and Beaumont areas, which is wonderful. Healthcare is a right for all. And I love y'all's whole mission on that. So thanks for joining the show today, Vince.
Yep. Thank you for having me, Rollis.
And then also we have just below him, we have Matt Kaiser. He's the director of talent acquisition at Memorial Hermann Health System, also located here in Houston, a nonprofit system, and probably about the largest one here in the Houston area. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you, Rollis. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to kind of dive into this. And those of you who are just now joining us, let us know where you're joining in from. We definitely want to recognize each of you who come in. I'm going to be pulling up my chat right now to make sure I can see your comments and be able to interact back with you. We had another guest listed. Looks like she may not be able to join us today. Had a last minute conflict, so we'll definitely reschedule her on another show. But glad both of you could join us today. We have quite a few who've already chiming in. We have Dr. Rosina Malaska, who's already here. Appreciate you being here, Rosina. Trevor and Stephanie, thank you for being here as well. And of course, Joanne. As we have things that resonate with you and you want to add to the discussion, please jump in the comments. We will be reading those as we go along. So let's start off with you, Vince. Let's talk about what happened in 2021. As you look back at it, what are some of the challenges that came up? And maybe we can kind of talk about some of the successes as well.
Sure. I don't know if you got enough time here, to go through all the challenges that we had here in over the past 10, 11 months or so. But I would say this, and Rollis, as you know, I am relatively new to Legacy. And for those of you, as I introduce myself, I've been the CHRO here at Legacy since March of this year, and the first time that this organization's had anybody in this particular role. And the reason that this role was created is because we had a number of human capital needs that we certainly have just outgrown, simply as that. And, I mean, we started out, as a small little clinic in the Montrose area of Houston to where we are now, from one small little clinic to 50 plus clinics in the Houston and Beaumont areas, as you heard Rollis indicate earlier. And so we looked at some of the challenge that we've had this past year. One is this accelerated growth over the last couple of years, and then in the midst of a pandemic, right? So this year, we've grown our workforce by 12% this year thus far, and continuing to do so. This year, we have added to our portfolio of clinic locations, 6 locations, with 2 more to open up towards the end of this year and 2 more towards Q1 of next year. And so the unique challenges that we have around that is, how do you balance the staffing for new clinics and making offers when in a normal time, it's very difficult to recruit healthcare talent. And so one of the things that we did is we found ourselves having to extend some offers to providers or physicians earlier in the summer, and then hanging on to those offers where they won't start until later in Q4, as you heard me allude to here earlier today. And that's been a very, very unique challenge for us, particularly in the behavioral health space. Very difficult to find psychiatrists, even more difficult to find psychiatrists who bilingual Spanish, English. And so when you get one, you want to hang on to them. And so we've had to do some unique things, not only recruit them, but hang on to them before they formally started. Other challenges for us here in 2021 is growing the HR team. When I got here, the HR team was 16 FTE strongs, and presently we are now 25 FTEs with a plan to double the size of the HR organization over the next couple of years. Other challenge when I got here, and many of you guys say you could probably relate to this in your respective organizations, either in your past life or your current life that you're living. If one of your employees has an HR issue, whether it's a talent acquisition issue, whether it's a comp issue, whether it's a benefit issue, whether it's an employee relations / business partner issue, right? And they just send an email to HR. Somebody in HR, please help me. And that's and everyone in HR, as I said, the 16 FTEs, everyone in HR would get that email. And now I've got to decide, is this something for me to respond to or not respond to? I'm a talent acquisition specialist, but this person is providing a benefit question, right? And so we've flipped from that model to putting in the framework of a genuine shared services model. And so that certainly was a challenge for us. Creating overall HR branding here within the organization where never previously existed. And rather than just those folks over in HR, we branded ourselves as My HR. And then that first level and that shared services approach that we have, that's, we call that My HR Concierge. And obviously there's intent behind all of these different names here from a cultural standpoint within our organization. And then I would say, additionally, the challenges that we've had here on the operation side, besides the growth that we're experiencing, and trying to find the talent, is servicing or caring for over 250,000 patients over the past year, and trying to maintain a reasonable retention / turnover. In the healthcare space, we know a lot of people checked out of healthcare COVID time, right? They're tired, they're weary, they're worn out, and all that sort of stuff. And so we put in a number of things, if you want to call it, benefits in place. For example, Bright Horizons to help mitigate that. We have developed a provider wellness program to also try to stem the tide of our provider burnout, and building upon that, a staff wellness program, as well. So like I said, I could talk forever and ever and ever on the challenges and then our solutions to those challenges here. But I would end with this before pivoting to Matt. I would end with this is, when tough times come, it's time for leaders to stand up. And just been very, very proud of the leadership that has stood up here at our organization in the midst of this pandemic and in the midst of a CEO change here. So we've got a new CEO over the last 3 months. So very, very proud of it. All right. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we want to unpack a lot of those things you mentioned. And I know that those of you who are watching, I'm sure you're probably shaking your head. Yeah, we've had those same situations, especially with the email where 25 or 16 people get it at one time. And each person has to decide if they're going to act on an email. That was a great point. So yeah. Matt, how about you? As you look back on 2021, what are some of the challenges that you've seen or had to overcome, and maybe some successes along the way, and then we'll kind of more of an open form conversation after that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Raul. So similar to Vince, I actually recently joined Memorial Hermann earlier this year. So I came from Atlanta, Georgia. I was the director of talent acquisition there for a pediatric healthcare system, and had a great opportunity to join the leadership team here in talent acquisition at Memorial Hermann. And, super excited to be here. It's a great organization, great leadership team here in HR and across the organization. And we just have a great team in place as well. We've certainly faced challenges this year. I think probably our biggest challenge, probably since before I arrived, but definitely since I've been here, has been staffing. We are facing a lot of competition, as you probably know, in the healthcare space out there. There's also a lot of agencies, a lot of travelers that are out there, and a lot of people moving to traveling. A shortage of talent in the healthcare space, whether that's nursing or respiratory therapy or surgical techs. I mean, you name it, it's across the board, imaging. So I think, for us, it's really all about staffing and how do we keep our hospitals staffed up. And I think we've done a really nice job of that through the pandemic, and also just, in light of these challenges that we're facing. A big focus for us, of course, is recruiting, but it's also retention and keeping our employees engaged. That's a big piece for us. Raul kind of touched on a few things that they're doing, and we're doing some similar things at Memorial Hermann. I know when we talk about keeping our employees engaged, we look at it both from a non-clinical and a clinical perspective. So from a non-clinical perspective, it's how do we keep our employees engaged in a remote working environment? Because, most of our non-clinical employees are working remotely, or at least maybe in a hybrid model through the pandemic. But clinical, of course, they're on site. How do we keep them engaged, just with all the challenges that we've seen in the healthcare space, the pandemic, and the competition out there, and people moving to agency and traveling, and just some of the things that we're seeing in the healthcare space. And so it's really, how do we keep them engaged? How do we retain them? How do we recruit more for organizations? How do we expand and grow in Houston? So those are all things that are certainly top of mind for us. We've definitely implemented some things to help us with that. We've got some great wellness programs. Vince kind of touched on some things they're doing. We've got a program that we call Work Well, and we've recently implemented these initiatives, employee wellness, both at work and at home. So what we really do is we look at the full employee, so not just the professional and who you are as an employee, but who you are as an individual as well. And we kind of take a look at that and say, we want to make sure that we are taking care of our employees holistically, not just at work, but also at home. Things like childcare and dependent benefits, from a financial perspective, making sure that, we've got a strong compensation platform and bonus structure in place, emotional health, physical health and nutrition. We offer a lot of courses and classes around that, work-life balance and paid time off, social services, all of those things incorporated into our work well together and our resources for employees. And so that's a huge focus for us now and moving forward is, number one is obviously attracting more people, but it's also just taking care of our employees, keeping them engaged and retaining our workforce. So, I think that's, those are the challenges that we're facing and probably some of the big areas of focus for us moving forward into 2022.
Yeah, and I also want to, for a second there, I think I might have gave you a new name there, so I apologize. I had the wrong lower third up there for a couple of seconds. That's the beauty of live. one of our guests couldn't make it today, and as you're talking, I was like, "Oh man, poor guy! I put that with the wrong lower third."
I did
have the right one earlier though. No, this is all great stuff. So I'm looking at the comments here. Dr. Gupta, he's coming in. He talked about he just finished writing a book on the opioid crisis in America, and the title is The Preventable Epidemic. I am providing a workable solution to resolve the opioid crisis. No one's talking about it. Let's work together to save young Americans from a disease that the CDC calls preventable, patient waitlisted for treatment, very high mortality. Any thoughts? So we can touch on that. And I have one other one to read from Leon Fress. Leon Fress, he's one of our repeat loyal watchers. Appreciate you, Leon. He says, how successful was the program of extending offers to providers in the summer and keeping them engaged to their start date? Was there a bit of fallout or fall off there? Do you think they used your offers as leverage? So if you want to take any of those points, we can start off with you, Vince. Anything you wanted to touch on any of those things I just read?
To say, no, we were very successful. We retained each of them. There was a total of 3 providers here that fell in this question, and that's because we started their contract. So they're all on our employment agreement. So we started their contracts early as well. And then so we actually had them working instead of a 1.0 FT, they were working around anywhere from a 0.5 to a 0.75, depending on who the person was, at other clinics that we have. So no, it worked just fine. We retained them all.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah. So what about you guys, Matt? Did you, if you want to comment on that particular point or any other points that I just read about?
I'm sorry, Rollins, could you repeat that?
Well, one of the questions that Leon had, he said, how successful was the program of extending offers to provider in the summer and then keeping them engaged all the way up to their start date? Did you have fall off in those situations, or did you think that they perhaps use as leverage to stay where they are? I mean, that's what Leon's asking.
Okay. Yeah. We, so our team does not handle provider recruitment. We handle all other recruitment at Memorial Hermann, but, we didn't really have a big fall off in terms of keeping new hires engaged through the process. So we were very fortunate. We did have an initiative that we focused on earlier this year, which was improving our onboarding process and experience for new hires across the board. So we were able to implement some initiatives to shorten the time frame and streamline our process, and also enhance our communication to provide, number one, a better experience for our new hires, but also to shorten that time frame so we could get them on board quicker and really keep them engaged throughout the process. So we're very fortunate. We've got a very small drop-off rate percentage-wise as it pertains to new hires, and we hired a lot of people in 2021. Our fiscal year is slightly different, but our fiscal year ended in June, started a new one in July, and last fiscal year we hired more people than we ever have at Memorial Hermann, and we're actually on par through the first quarter of our fiscal year this year to hire about 25% more. So even though we're facing a lot of challenges and competition out there, we're still doing really well with finding and engaging and hiring talent. So we've been fortunate. We haven't seen a big drop off.
That's great. And One thing I do want to mention, Dr. Gupta, to your comment about the opioid crisis, one of the things that Legacy did, they actually sent one of their therapists on our show, and I got a chance to learn, Vince, about your organization that you have available to your employees, even whether it's patients or employees, folks who specialize in addiction, in helping them with that. And I remember we had Miss Sue Laredo. So if you look back at one of our old episodes from earlier this year, Dr. Gupta, you'll see that. And that is important to us on this show. But I don't know if you wanted to add anything about that, Vince, about mental health and how important it is at Legacy.
No, I don't think I can add anything more than what you've already indicated, other than that is an area of specialty care that we provide. And we provide behavioral health, and as you indicated, addiction therapy, addiction support to folks in not only our standalone clinics, but also in partnerships with 3 different school districts here in the Houston area, in that behavioral health space. And again, that's just one of these things that we're just immensely proud about in our ability to fill that space. But I will tell you, as I say that, it's very difficult for us to meet the overall need in our communities in that regard. We just kicked off a hiring project, Rallis, which you're familiar with. Well, by February of this coming year, we want to hire an additional 22 behavioral health therapists, and in a large majority of them in the telehealth space, telemedicine space, and virtual, and to really give us the ability to better meet the demand that's out there in the community, and that through that flexibility, because we just can't do it, alone in the conventional therapy session, in person. And so this is an example of having to pivot. You got a problem, find another solution for it to address that problem. So really excited to see where we land on this. Our wait list is, it's just immense for patients in this space. So optimistic, we'll continue to stay optimistic, in that regard. And not to totally change the subject, Rallis, but again, around some of the core challenges for us last year, we had, a couple other, and I don't know if they were unique to us, but others as well, where we stood up, the COVID vaccine and all the challenges that were associated with that, and standing up the vaccine mandate. We mandated the vaccine about 4 months ago. The literature on average indicates that on average, the employers lose about 1% of their workforce who don't want to get the vaccine, and they don't get an exemption that's approved. So it's about 1%. So we fell south of that, which we were very proud of. We were about 0.8% in the drop off, so we felt proud that we were better than the national norm in that regard.
Wow, that's awesome. I want to see what some of our audience thinks about that. And they seem to be pretty impressed. Very good. That's awesome. So Matt, how about you? Any other things you want to touch on in terms of challenges and successes, and then we can also organically move into the way forward. But I do have, of course, a little fun question I'm going to ask you guys first. But go ahead. What are your challenges, successes, 2021?
Yeah, I think one thing I'll mention is when we talk. Well, it's really kind of a challenge, but also a success, and also as we move into 2022, it's going to be a key area of focus for us, and that is community partnerships and really providing opportunities for some of the more served, underprivileged areas in the Houston market. That's been a big area of focus for us. We have several initiatives in place to be able to do that. And we were really proud that we were recently selected by the United Way as their premier partner for what's called the Thrive program. And what we're going to be doing as part of this program, and we've done a little bit of this in 2021, is really being able to offer career opportunities to individuals in some of these more underserved and underprivileged communities by partnering with schools to be able to train some of these individuals in certain areas and into certain roles, and then being able to offer them on-the-job training and also career opportunities at Memorial Hermann. So there's several positions that we're looking at that are sort of what we would consider entry-level positions. And what we're going to be doing is identifying probably 5 to 6 areas in the business. So areas like sterile processing techs, patient access representatives, and so forth. And then partnering with United Way and Thrive and also the local colleges and universities to be able to identify some of these individuals in these communities, bring them through the schools and train them in the schools, and then be able to offer them that on-the-job training and career opportunities at Memorial Hermann. So we're super excited about that. We've done a little bit of that in 2021, primarily focused on what we would consider PCA positions, patient care assistant. And so we've had this program in place, but it's been fairly small. And what we're going to do now with the help of United Way and the Thrive program is be able to expand that and really grow that and be able to offer many more opportunities for some of these individuals in the community. So it's a great program for us. Number one, it's a win-win really for everybody. It helps us to strengthen our pipeline at Memorial Hermann, but it also really, more importantly, helps us to be able to offer career opportunities to those individuals that may not have had that in the past, and be able to give them some real direction and focus and purpose. And so we're excited about that. We're excited to be getting some great talent on board as part of this program. The expansion actually is going to launch in March 2022. So it's been both a success for us this year, but also it's going to be a key area of focus for us moving forward.
That's cool. Yeah, when we did the, you were going to say something? I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask if I'm permitted to ask a question.
Please, anytime. This is open conversation. That's how we do it here, natural.
No, I was just going to ask Matt. That sounds exciting. I did something similar elsewhere in my career, but I'm curious, what specific school districts are you guys doing those partnerships with?
We're actually looking at multiple schools.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really going to be partnering with United Way on that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at Houston Community College, so HCC. I know San Jacinto is another one.
Okay.
And then there's probably 3 or 4 more that we'll be looking at as well. United Way has already got some established partnerships with these schools. We've already got some established partnerships with these schools. And so it's just a matter of selecting the right ones that offer some of these programs. So each school, as you probably know, each school offers different programs. So some of them offer sterile processing programs. Some of them offer PCA programs. So it just depends on who offers those particular programs, and that's who we'll establish those partnerships with.
Oh, okay. So these are JC's junior colleges.
Yeah, they're junior colleges and
I was
community
thinking
colleges.
you were catching them as high school seniors as they were graduating, is what I was.
Well,
saying.
it's interesting. It's a good point, Vince. Is one of the things that we have talked about this year, and it's specific to sterile processing techs, is potentially recruiting them out of high schools.
Yeah.
And being able to bring them on board and be able to train them. So put them through a training program at one of the schools, mm-hmm. and then ultimately bring them on board at Memorial Hermann. So we are actually looking at how do we educate some students, and even younger than that, right? Like middle school and high school. So we educate them on career opportunities in healthcare. And it doesn't just have to be sterile processing, but we really want to get out there, talk to students, educate them, and encourage them to be able to think about career paths and career opportunities in healthcare. And, not everybody is going to have an opportunity to go to college. And so it's, how do we offer them career opportunities out of high school, and what does that look like? So it is something that we're looking at, is creating more programs and opportunities for students coming out of high school. It's a great point.
That's really cool. You're carrying the torch, because I know that Lori Knowles is very passionate about that whole program. And we did, together, we did a program March 2020. Literally the very last meeting of the Houston HR Association was the beginning of March 2020, and we did it over at that United Way, and helped several candidates. I want to say it was about 20 candidates that came in. We helped them with their resume, helped them with interview skills and stuff like that. And that was a project that she kind of took on at the time because she was so passionate about it. And so kudos to you for taking that torch and running with it. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Actually, Ann Miller, I know she's been on your program, but she recently hosted a session for students in high school and brought in some of our healthcare leaders in the organization and some of our managers, and they did some presentations on areas of our business. And so similar to that, they helped to really educate those students on career opportunities in healthcare and maybe gave them some ideas as to what to think about when they graduate. So that was a really good program for students in school. And we think we're going to continue to do those sorts of things in 2022 and really help to get that message out.
That's awesome. And I'll put context when I say Lori to the audience that's the CHRO of Memorial Hermann, and he just spoke about Ann Miller, who's the VP on as far as at the HR organization. So thank you for that. And I just want to see what the audience is thinking about this Thrive program and helping those out in the community, because I think it is a good thing. And they certainly agree. Good feedback.
That's great.
All right, so I got Yvette Bonilla. She says, I want to work for this place. Now, I don't know if she was talking about Legacy or Memorial Hermann, but thank you, Yvette.
Maybe Legacy. She was talking about Legacy.
Legacy, okay. So Vince is convinced that you're talking about Legacy.
Matt. You got to go quick, baby.
I know. We're competing here. Talk about competition.
And then Dr. Gupta. Okay, actually, Yvette was talking about how she works for a place that offers in-home addictions treatment, which has seen huge success, 78% success ratio with a low readmission rates. They're looking to spread nationwide, currently in 8 states. Dr. Gupta says they lost 100,000 people from March 2020 to March 2021. This is a 40% increase since pre-COVID time. We've lost a total of 1 million since 1999. Have you seen that affecting either in retention or even from a recruitment standpoint, the addiction area? Because I'll say this: I know physician recruitment for years, there's certain things, like fentanyl and stuff like that, where they may have issues, right? So, how do you deal with that? Maybe in the candidate attraction piece, in the recruitment piece, and then also how you deal with folks who are already working with you when you have addictions. Are those things that you've seen a rise in since COVID has happened? Is it just kind of status quo? I'd be curious to see what each of your thoughts are on that.
I'm gonna defer to Matt, because we're not like the large hospitals where we have narcotics in our pharmacies. So seeing colleagues that have addictions to things like fentanyl and other prescribed meds and narcotics. And so we don't have to put those protocols in that we did where I used to work in another big hospital system. So I'm sure he's got much more experience that he can talk to there.
And Matt, please chime in. But before you do, I also want to mention that I'm also thinking it wider than that. I'm thinking also maybe alcohol addiction or drug addiction on the part of employees, because this has been such a trying time that maybe I don't know if there's been a rise in that or not. So I don't know if you have data on that. But feel free, Matt, and then Vince, if you want to add something, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really have data on that to be honest, but I have not seen that or heard about that, fortunately, within our organization, or even really in the recruiting process, although I'm sure it's there. We are very fortunate to have a very strong team with regard to employee engagement and resources, offering resources internally to our employees. And as part of that, it is resources around counseling and around understanding really employee resources. So understanding some of those challenges out there, whether that's emotional stress, whether that's physical stress. So we've got a really good team that people can rely on to be able to help guide them and work through some of these issues that they're facing. I talked a little bit about it earlier. We've really started to put some structure around the program, calling it the Well Together program. And in the past, it's really been, kind of these resources that we've had, but we haven't really packaged it. And now we're packaging it more and really getting it out there to our employees. And I think that's been a real opportunity for us. I think in the past, maybe some people perhaps knew that we had these resources, but I don't think it was really widely distributed or widely known amongst the employees. So what our plan is moving forward is, how do we get this message out to help them to better understand what are the resources that are available to you. The counseling program for us is huge. I mean, a lot of our employees take advantage of that, and they talk about their challenges that they're facing through the pandemic, whether that's financial challenges or challenges with dependence, like you talked about, addiction, that perhaps maybe they've had people that they've known that have died during COVID or had real problems or challenges with COVID. So that's been a huge lift for us. And then also just to be able to offer some of those benefits that we offer to help people through these times, the child care benefits and the financial benefits and, those types of things. So yeah, we're fortunate because we've got some real good, strong programs in place. And I think that's really helped in that respect.
Very good. So, okay, and I have a very, very serious, important question to ask you guys, which whenever you hear me say that, it means it's usually not. Okay. All right. So the question is, and again, Vince, if you had anything you wanted to add up before I ask my question to that.
No, go ahead.
Okay. What movie made you laugh until you cried? Those in the comments, I want you to answer the same question. Like keep things fun and light too. So what movie that you can think of
that made you laugh and cry?
No, until you cried. I mean, you had such a hard belly laugh. It made you laugh until you cried.
Oh, okay. I guess it doesn't have to be recent, right?
It doesn't have to be recent, no.
Okay. Well, the first thing that came to mind for me was the movie Hangover. I saw that on an airplane coming back from Europe, and I had my headphones on watching this movie. And then obviously, for those who've seen it, it's just scene after scene after scene. I'm just laughing hysterically, where the flight attendant had to come over, several times to tell me to quiet it down. But that's the first movie that popped into my head with that question.
Okay.
I mean, the Mike Tyson scene with the tiger, and
that's a good one.
Playing the In the Air Tonight, and he knocks that dude out. Oh God, that's funny.
Okay, how about you, Matt?
That's a good one, Vince. That's hard to top. The one for me that comes to mind is Wedding Crashers. That one was for me. I actually saw that in the theater a while back, and I didn't really know what to expect. I hadn't really heard about it, but went and saw it in the theater and just could not stop laughing. And that's never happened to me before. And I'm in the theater and I'm just laughing and couldn't stop. And so yeah, that was a good one. I still enjoy that one, watching replays of that.
Okay, cool. I think one of mine, I guess, all time I have kind of a silly sense of humor, is Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey. Yeah. It's probably top for me. By the way, Leon Fresh, he says, fun fact, I worked for Legacy previously. Yeah, he used to work at Legacy. Okay, so those are the comments. Let us know, even if you're watching the replay, what's the movie you can remember that made you laugh until you cry? Okay, what I want to do is let's talk about the way forward. Let's spend the last few minutes talking about what are we looking to do in 2022? What adjustments are we making in the first quarter of 2022 that you see that perhaps maybe it's going to be helping you, but it also could help someone who's watching as well? Let's start with you, Vince.
You say Matt or Vince?
Vince, yes.
I feel like we've started with me on all of these. So,
we can let Matt go. You want Matt to go first?
No, I'm teasing. I mean, Rollis, obviously, there's so much that we're focusing on in 2022, but I think for us that it falls in a couple different categories. The first category is how we can continue to position ourselves from a leadership standpoint to meet our growing business need. I alluded to earlier that we will be opening 2 more clinics here in the first part of next year. And as we get through the middle part of next year and the end of the following year, there will be another 7 or 8 clinics. I meet with our CFO. He indicates that, and he's been here 10, 11 years, and he indicates that the amount of growth that we're experiencing right now exceeds any time that he's previously being here with Legacy. And so from an HR standpoint, right? So that's our challenge here in this year. On just the retention of folks, right? But you can hang on to them and do all the wonderful things that we talked about earlier. And how do you hang on to folks and offering competitive benefits? But the other thing is, as I kind of led with, is the leadership and the quality of our leadership and the expectations that we place upon them. So key to what we're doing the next year is a 2-day in-house internal leadership conference. And we'll be doing that, and similar to Memorial Hermann, our fiscal ends in June and our new fiscal begins in July. And so we'll be doing this leadership conference, and this is anyone from a manager on up. So manager, director, vice president, SVP, and chiefs, right? And so it will close out officially the previous year. And how do we actually perform against our clinical goals, against our operational goals, and against our talent goals, which we've never done that before. And then we're setting the road for our next fiscal year and clearly articulating to those frontline leaders what our goals are in the next fiscal year. And this is, I guess a little bit different for a nonprofit. We're a nonprofit. And then in those, aside from those general sessions, have a number of breakout sessions that is specifically intended to sharpen their overall acumen as leaders. Where there is a breakout on managing their P&L and financial acumen. There is a breakout on coaching and developing employees. There is a breakout on marketing of our services, because to a certain extent, as a clinic leader, there's a little bit of that in there as well. So this is something we're very, very excited about. And earlier today, this morning, we had a meeting with our vice presidents and up, and I was talking about this, and I thought they were all going to stand up and cheer and clap, that they were so happy. So that's one of the biggest things for us as we go into next year. And oh, by the way, I currently have an opening for a talent development or learning and development director. So if anybody out there that has that skill set, competence, and experience, feel free to reach out to me and apply. The other thing for us that's going to really make a challenge as we continue to go forward in 2022 is finding this right balance. And Matt talked about it a little bit around this virtual work, this remote work. I mean, historically, healthcare institutions historically were never, about the virtual work. It was, hands-on touching the patient. Whether it was in the behavioral health space that we've talked about, or whether it's in dental, vision, general med, you name it, pediatrics, adult medicine, doesn't matter, right? And so for us culturally, we went into the pandemic with a remote work policy. Roughly 6-7 months ago, I rewrote that policy and called it work from anywhere. To driving that little bit of flexibility. And like any other organization, you've got a couple different buckets that you can fall in, of which is a hybrid category, right? So spin it forward into 2022. We're learning that the work from anywhere concept we're kind of fighting within the organization, end up continuing to morph this policy to best meet the needs of our patients, but then finding that balance between, okay, if I work in a clinic and I've got to be here every day, but you've got that high up mucky muck type, the chief HR officer who works in the corporate office there, right? And he's virtual. He's getting a better deal than me, right? And so it's an internal culture. I hate to use war, battle, or a fight, but that's certainly something that we're finding ourselves having to address in 2022. And we're no different than most other employers out there. So those are two quick things, Rollis, for us.
That's a big one. That's a big one right there. I tell you, and I've heard it from more than one organization about that, with the divide between those who have to be there versus those who can be virtual. So Matt, how about you? What does the way forward look like for you from the talent acquisition standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things that come to mind, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, is retention is really key for us. Two big things when it comes to staffing is retention and recruiting. So those are going to be huge areas of focus for us. How do we make sure that we're retaining our workforce and the people that we're hiring and keep them on board and keep them engaged? And then what are we doing to recruit new talent so that we can expand and grow? We're going to have a lot of growth and expansion at Memorial Hermann over the next couple of years. And so what are we doing to be able to address that and meet those needs? And it's looking at our strategy and looking at technology. How does that help us to enable that? Looking at our processes, how do we streamline things like we talked about? How do we bring employees on board quicker and give them a better experience? So that's a big thing for us is staffing, recruiting, and retention, of course. And then another piece for us also moving forward is going to be our focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion. So that's also a key area of focus for us. And we've been doing some really good things in that space, but definitely have a lot more planned for that, looking at everything from our branding to our training to events to celebrations, employee resource groups. So we've got a really good, strong director on board, and we're looking for a chief of diversity now. And so we really want to be able to continue our focus on this, listening to our employees and determining, what can we do to improve and enhance our efforts here. So that's going to be also a key area of focus for us in 2022 and beyond. So that's I think awesome. Those are probably two big things. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank both of you being on. I don't want to because Vince has to get off, so I just want to give you guys a little bit of feedback from the audience, which is very positive what I'm seeing so far. Thank you very much for being on the show to both of you guys. Thank you, Vince, for what you're doing tirelessly. We love working with Legacy and have enjoyed the relationship. So thank you for being on.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and anytime feel free to call me. Take care, everyone. All the best.
All righty. And then Matt, again, thank you for being on today. And if you have any final words you want to give the folks on the way out.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Wallace. I do. I think, as far as final words go, I think it's just for us. I know that one thing that I try to focus on is of course, just staying positive, keeping our team positive and making sure that we continue to stay resilient. And that's probably been a key term, I think, for a lot of people in this landscape over what we've been through probably over the last 2 years is resiliency. So for us, I think everybody's facing challenges right now, not just here at Memorial Hermann, and not just in healthcare, right? I think across the board when it comes to staffing, employees, retention, recruiting, those types of things, everything that we've talked about today. And so I think it's really just staying positive, staying resilient, continuing to focus on things that you can do to make an impact. And that's what we're doing as a team. I'm very fortunate to have a good, strong leadership team here at Memorial Hermann, but also to have a strong talent acquisition team that I work with and an HR team as well. So just really fortunate to be able to be here and be a part of this at Memorial Hermann. And so, looking forward to what we can do in 2022.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on. And I want to thank everyone who watched today. Thanks for all the wonderful comments. If you like what you saw, go ahead and hit that like button or reaction button. Let us know how you felt about today's session. Let us know where it resonated with you. And if you're watching the replay, feel free and also engage as well and let us know what you thought, because we read all the comments. Matt, would it be good for folks to connect you with you through your tag? I got you tagged in here through your LinkedIn. Is that the best way to contact you? Or is there another way?
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I would appreciate that.
All righty. And I will say the same for Vince. He's not here, but those of you who want to tag Vince, feel free and reach out to him as well directly. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Matt, thank you. Please give my regards to the rest of the team there. Ann, Lori, Farine, the list goes on and on. You have a great team over there. So keep up the great work and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you, Wallace. I appreciate it. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks, everyone. Appreciate y'all being on today. And let me put myself back on the screen where you can see me. You're like, well, where did Wallace go? Let me do that right now. There we go. Coming up. And 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, now I can get you out of that vortex I was in. So anyway, let me know, guys, what resonated with you out of what you saw and what you heard today. Appreciate you guys being on today. We have one. I think it's one more possibly 2 more. I think 1 or 2 more Thursday roundtables for the rest of the year. So thanks for being on today. Look forward to our next one. We're going to have a full slate of guests. Next week is going to be about talent acquisition again. So if talent acquisition is your jam, come back on next Thursday and we'll finish up our discussion. All right, everyone. Have a great one.